Good evening, Conversation 3. This is week 3, and I am wiring a headset with a microphone. I think this is a good time to test this out and see if it works, since today's topic is electronic devices. Now, I want to talk about really briefly some of the things that need to be updated. First of all, 3 more weeks of online stuff. So if you're not used to this already, then you should get used to it. We've had extensions 3 or 4 times already. I'm losing track, but there's a good possibility that the whole semester will be online. We haven't exactly figured out how we're going to do testing, so the main thing right now is your attendance on the cyber lecture and whether or not you're doing your homework. I've received quite a few emails about being concerned with deadlines and so on. Remember that there are makeup classes, so certain classes are ahead of others, and they may be on the same website as you. So, for example, Conversation 3, this is a Friday class, so I'm doing this video lecture recording on Thursday, and you're going to watch it on Friday. I've allowed you to have the entire week to log in order to give you some flexibility just for your attendance, but you need to watch this whole lecture, and you need to look for it to be uploaded Thursday night, not earlier in the week. Some of you, I'm very pleased to say, there's a few students who are ahead almost a week and have submitted their assignments well in advance. You don't need to overreact and be concerned about next week's assignment when next week hasn't come yet. So we've only had a couple assignments in this class, and week 3 is now. I'm going to give you the assignment. It's due next Friday. So if you've already handed in 2 assignments, then you're up to date and you don't need to worry. I'm not trying to be rude. I might be curt. There's a difference, right? Rude means I'm insulting you or thinking you're not smart or something like that. But when you email me multiple times about the same thing and I repeat myself, the emails might get shorter and more direct because I'm saying the same thing and I just want you to understand what I'm trying to say. So that's going to be addressed in this PDF file, which I will upload tomorrow, just in terms of the guidelines and how to name your files and your emails so I can find them easily. And also, I want to update you with the general situation and just remind you that even though you have a whole week to log in, that the content for your class isn't going to be uploaded until your particular day, because I'm still catching up. I am caught up now, but I'm not a week ahead, so I don't have 6 lectures ready to go Monday morning. So if you log in early and you get credit for the week, you still have to log in again, essentially. So if you log in early and get credit for your attendance, that's fine, but you do need to log in again. That is why I'm going to ask everyone to set up a subscription so that I can use the analytic tools of YouTube to reinforce the sort of limited ability that the website gives me to track what you're doing. Because some students, I think, are just turning on their cyber lecture through the portal, and they're just going and eating a sandwich and not paying attention and sending me emails about things that I talked about in the lecture. So you have to watch the whole lecture. You have to listen carefully, make notes like you would in class. If you just don't pay attention to this material that I give you and then ask me and send emails, I'm not going to answer you anymore because I've already told you. And a quick little tip is I turned on the subtitles for every lecture, so as long as my pronunciation is good enough, and so far what I've seen, it's very accurate, like above 95%, you can turn on the English subtitles and you can literally just listen and read to what I'm saying at the same time. So you don't have a good excuse So those emails are going to start to be ignored when you ask me something that has clearly been explained through the video lecture or on the website. Then you need to look up the information yourself. If you have a good question, that's fine. This sort of is the way our presentations work. When we do presentations in this class towards the end of the semester, if a student gives a presentation and I ask all the other students in the audience, please ask a question at the end of their presentation for the Q&A period, you get credit for participation when you ask a good question. But if you ask a question that clearly was part of the presentation, which the student who's up in front of the class has already told you, that doesn't count. It just means that you read the general topic or got the general idea and didn't pay attention to any of the details of the presentation. So that doesn't count. So this is conversation 3, remember? This is advanced conversation and advanced speech. So I expect more of each student. So if you're confused, that's fine. I will try and give you advice and clear things up for you. But if you're just repeating questions that have been clearly stated in this video lecture or in the content through the website, then the onus is on you to figure it out on your own. Because most of you are not freshmen. You should be upper year. So today's topic is electronic devices. I have a microphone that's connected to this headset. It's a hands-free headset. And I've never used it before. It's been like in the shadows for the last couple years. And now I finally found a use for it. Originally, I had some trouble with my voice when I was in big classrooms. Of course, we have microphones in the classroom at Chungnam, but occasionally I'm doing other things where I might need it. I need to walk around freely. This is kind of nice. It's kind of nice that I can just spin around. If I was not using this, I would turn around and the reception to my voice, the volume of my voice would go down, but I can turn my back on you and you can still hear me perfectly because of this thing. So I think I might start using this as long as there's not too much popping or distortion of my voice, or I don't have technical problems. This is going to be a regular thing. This is going to be my usual equipment. So it's not my favorite thing, but I've just discovered there's maybe might be a practical application to this electronic device. So this is what we're going to address in this week's class. So we're moving on. I decided to skip chapter 2 and move on to chapter 3 and do this lecture on electronic devices in the wrong order just because of my headset. So another confusing thing for you might be we're just going to skip chapter 2 because it's get a job is the chapter 2 topic, but we're going to do chapter 3. So the get a job topic is going to be our makeup class. So I'll save that for later. So just remember, look at the website and listen to my lecture and you won't be confused. This is also a good test to see if you're paying attention. So we're going to talk about electronic devices because I've turned myself into a half man, half machine by putting this on my head. Another reason is because I remembered when I was reading the chapter headings about this particular short story which I was introduced to in high school. And I loved it, and I couldn't remember the name of it because I haven't read it in ages, but I found it again and I wanted to share it with you while it was fresh in my head. So I have it pulled up on my computer now, and it's an old short story. I think I'm not going to know offhand when it was written, but it was written a long time ago, more than 50 years ago, maybe in the 1950s, post-World War II, I think. It must be in the atomic era, because the topic is about a house that has survived in California after the nuclear holocaust. So I'm going to just go out on a limb and say it's about 1950 it was written. because it wouldn't make sense. In 1930, no one would be writing about nuclear holocausts because the nuclear bomb didn't exist yet. But I'll have to look that up. If I make a mistake, in the comments at the bottom of the lecture, I will correct it. That's happened a few times already, unfortunately. But around 1950, we'll say, that Ray Bradbury is the writer, the author. It's a short story, so it's super short, which most of my students really like. When I give you articles or I give you books to read or stories or whatever, they prefer short and sweet. And this is really short and sweet. I think it might be 4 pages long. It's very condensed. And I think that's one thing that's a mark of great writing, in a sense, is you may not realize, because you're always thinking that when you write essays and you write assignments for your professor, that 500 words is better than 1,000, and 1,000 is better than 5,000, and so on. But when you have a lot to say, when you're trying to tell a story, 4 pages is incredibly difficult to tell a story in that amount of space. Excuse me. When I was a senior, I took a seminar, which was a creative writing seminar, and our main project for the semester was a short story. And I wrote a short story. I don't know if I still have it. I must have it somewhere. But I did all right. It was 10 pages long, and nothing really happened, though. It was 10 pages, and it's not easy to develop characters or anything. You don't have any time for that. So what happens in this really short story is that basically it's in California. Allendale, I believe, is the name of the town. And in Allendale, California, California has been hit by nuclear bombs. They're assuming that, the worst case scenario happened, where Russia and the United States and any other nuclear countries just launched all their atomic weapons at the same time, and the world was basically burnt out. And so there's just one house on a hill that survives this, and all the people are gone because they all got wiped out. So just there's a single house, and the house is on top of the hill, and in the morning, it's a fully automated house, and it just goes through the morning routine without the people. So it just makes breakfast and cleans up the house and does the dishes and all that kind of stuff that you would do. And all day it just runs through its routine without the people. It even lights a cigar for the father that would like to sit down and relax at the end of the day and have a cigar. And it recites a poem. It recites the poem, "There will come soft rains." There will come. Sorry, I can't. It's a sort of a poetic title. "There will come soft rains." The author, I should have written this down. Sarah Teasdale is the author, I believe, of that poem. And at night, in the evening, that the house just chooses something to read to the wife and the husband to help them relax. It's going to recite something. It could read a book, so it just chooses this poem, which is a favorite, and it reflects, the poem reflects on the whole situation, and the house at the end of the day sets on fire, and and it tries to put the fire out, but it's unsuccessful. So the house starts dying as well, and then at the end of the day, it burns out, and in the morning, the house is destroyed just like everything else, and the house just recites the date, which is in the morning. Afterwards, nothing's working. The house is completely destroyed, and it says. This is what it says, the last part of the short story. I'll read it to you. "Dawn showed faintly in the east. Among the ruins, one wall stood alone. Within the wall, a last voice said, over and over, again and again, even as the sun rose to shine upon the heaped rubble and steam. Today is August 5th, 2026. Today is August 5th, 2026. Today is... That's how it ends. It's brilliant. I hope you really enjoy it. I know some of you are not English majors, which is fine. Anybody can appreciate good literature. It doesn't matter what your major is. And I'm not asking you to analyze this or anything. I'm just asking you to read it and appreciate it. There's some relevance with our isolation and the virus, passing around everything. I'm not saying it's an apocalypse, because I don't think it is. It's just, it's a good reminder to you that a lot of people have lived in with the fear that someday everything will be destroyed. And right now, maybe it's a good message, it's a positive message that you can get from this. Is like, this is not as bad as that, right? In the 1950s and 1960s, Americans and Russians and anybody else who was connected to what was happening internationally, a lot of people were actually afraid that nuclear bombs would be dropped all over the world and the whole world would be destroyed, right? The whole world is not being destroyed. We are capable of handling this. A nuclear holocaust where 100 million, 200 million, 500 million people died. And then after that, the famine and the chaos and everything killed more people. That would be exponentially worse than what we're dealing with now, right? I know this is a very, very serious situation. But like I said in some other lectures another lecture that I taught earlier, happiness is relative, right? If you want to make yourself feel better, at least you don't live during World War II. At least you don't live during Japanese occupation if you're Korean. At least you don't live during World War II if you're a Western country or a developed country in Europe or North America. A lot of people died fighting in that war, and a lot of citizens, and there are much worse periods in history than this. We're in a crisis. It's bad, but it's not as bad as other things. So, I hope you enjoy that short story. It's short. It's beautiful. It's an amazing piece of writing. Check it out, okay? So, next, that's why I chose to do this chapter 3 before chapter 2. We skipped it over. I was just really super excited about doing this. Electronic devices. Normally when I teach this chapter, I often tell my students, how many hours do you use electronic devices a day? And people come clean and say, Professor, I don't even know. I use my phone every minute I can. I put it away when I have to, and I use it the rest of the day. So you're like talking, if you're awake, you're using it, which means you're maybe 10, 12 hours a day. Other students are like, no, I don't really care. I don't use it very much. Lots of people think that we are addicted to our devices. And so when you talk about electronic devices, when you talk about being plugged in, which is the title of the chapter, being plugged in is a good thing because it means you are connected and you know what's going on. But if you're too plugged in, I think you start to stop paying attention to what's around you. I have another great little cartoon for you. It's just a bunch of stick men, what Koreans call jolaman. And the jolaman just walk around looking at their phones. I think I didn't do my research properly before I linked these things, which is bad. You should always find out where the things come from. But sometimes things get shared on the internet and you just like, I got to share this in my class. You don't look it up properly. I believe it's a French guy. Don't quote me on that. That'll also be in the comments. I need to, recognize properly who created this interesting little cartoon. But it's a bunch of stick men walking around. They're just paying attention to the phones. They fall downstairs and they break their necks and they walk in front of cars and the cars just run them over and they bump into people and all sorts of terrible things happen to them in this very short animation piece. And it's just because they focus on their phones so much that they don't even care when their arms get ripped off or they just fall off a cliff or something and They don't even notice that they fall off the cliff and then they're dead because they just concentrate so much on their phones. So, we have a question for this week. No phones. Don't talk about your smartphone. Everybody heard that? You have to watch this video lecture, at least to this point, to understand the assignment is about electronic devices, but you're not allowed to talk about phones. I know what will happen if I allow them. Every single student will talk about the same thing, which I'm not interested in. So variety is much better. In the textbook, they talk about all kinds of things. They talk about smartphones, of course, but I don't want to just limit us to that or get everybody to focus on that. There's all kinds of electronic devices you could talk about. You plug something in and it means it has electricity. We have wireless things. We have things that run on batteries. We have things that are plugged in. Plugged in means it's supplied with electricity. So if it's not actually plugged in, that's fine. You don't need to. I mean, if you plug it in to charge the battery and then you use it, that still counts. All right? So I'll tell you one thing. I'll give you an example right now. The question is this week, choose a device, an electronic device, and explain how to use it, like its function, and then go on to say why you like it. So describe its features and what the benefits are of using this device. I always recommend, I'm a different age than you. I know you guys probably don't care that much about this because you're 20 and I'm 40. Not quite, not 40 yet, but getting there. People who are about 40 have to clean their house all the time. I have a dog too. I have a really big dog. He's like almost 40 kilograms, which I don't care about his size. It costs more to give him food. But the main problem is 40 kilograms is a lot more hair than a 5 kilogram dog, right? You can imagine the surface area of this dog is huge. So he scratches himself, he shakes himself, hair flies everywhere all day. This is a nightmare if you have kids. And I'm not stereotyping Korean women, but Korean women usually Korean women do not like to have a hair cover. Well, I shouldn't say Korean women. Men, women, Korean women in particular, I would probably clean my house once a day, but we usually do it like 7 or 8 times a day because there's constantly a layer of hair covering everything. So I don't think any woman who likes a clean house would want their house covered in hair. And if you're a woman or a man, it doesn't really matter. Some men are super clean, and that's great. And they want to keep things clean too. Some people have allergies. So if you have an allergy, you decide to have a pet anyway, then you got to deal with that. My father just got a dog, which he has a bit of an allergy to, not a serious allergy, but he's a mild allergy to hair. So I think they're going to have to keep the house clean too. Not because my mom likes the clean house, which she does, but because my dad will sneeze and not be able to breathe if they don't clean the house. So this is the electronic device that is sent from heaven, I suppose. I have to admit. It's not from heaven, obviously, but you know what I mean. The Dyson, the company that originally Dyson made these like bladeless fans, which is kind of cool because they're safe and stuff, but super expensive. I wasn't really into the fan thing. I don't really care. Blade fan is fine. You got to clean it and stuff, and there's some advantages of an expensive bladeless fan. But when they came out with this vacuum, this Dyson vacuum, and now LG has them and stuff too. But I have an original. I have a Dyson. I'm gonna grab it for you. This is my Dyson. This is probably one of my favorite electronic devices. Of course, I love my smartphone the most, like you, but that's not allowed. So this is my Dyson. I'm not advertising. They don't give me any money. Don't get me wrong. But this is my Dyson, and I think the company's okay with me. They're not going to sue me because I'm advertising for them. But this is my Dyson. I don't know what it's a V8 Fluffy. That's a really weird name, Fluffy. It's a Dyson V8 Fluffy. Well, there you go, Dyson. I love this thing. This removes hair so fast and conveniently. Again, I'm not advertising, I'm just describing. How does it work? Well, you just plug it in, it has a battery. The battery life doesn't last very long. It's like 15 minutes maybe, not even. And then it's done. But who cares? Because I only need to use it for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I just pull this trigger, and then boom, out comes the hair, and then I do it again. I've also beat the crap out of this thing. You can see the hair in the bottom of it. That's gross, but that's the hair that I sucked up today. And you can really easily just empty the canister at the top. This thing is surprisingly durable. I've dropped it, I've kicked it. My kids throw it around. I don't clean it as often as it should. It gets clogged with hair until it doesn't even work anymore. And then I take it, and I pull all the hair out of it and clean it up. And then it works again. I've had it for 3 years. My experience with some electronic devices is that they break quickly, right? So there, I described the function already. Now I'm starting to describe what I like about it. It's durable. It doesn't break, right? It's convenient. I can use it. I can empty it. I can use it again. I can charge it, by plugging it in, and then I can carry it around, unplug it, and carry it around hands-free, right? There's nothing connected to this thing. Unlike a regular vacuum that has a wire, I can just walk around with it. This thing's super convenient. It's tough. It doesn't break. It's reliable. It's durable. It's reliable. I should be a salesman for Dyson. Please hire me. This is my advertisement. So that's what I want you to do. Choose an electronic device like my Dyson that you really like. It's not even that I really like it. If I didn't have it, I don't know what I would do to get rid of all the hair. So I need it. It's a necessity for me. So choose something. It can be an appliance. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a refrigerator. Maybe it's a laundry machine. Maybe it's a headset or something. It can be some sort of accessory, electronic accessory. As long as it uses energy, I guess that's the main criteria. And it's not a smartphone. You can use it for your assignment, okay? So be aware that this is the assignment for next week. So Friday, your second assignment is due. Skip chapter 2. Read chapter 3 and they have a lot of information about various things there. Lots of adjectives like inexpensive and durable or reliable and so on. Cheap, that kind of stuff. Those words are always helpful to describe why you like something. Use good adjectives. And you need to hand it in by next Friday. You can hand it in early, anytime. It's fine with me, whatever you hand it in. But again, let me reiterate myself. Tag everything with your student number. The file, the email, the subject line, everything whenever you talk to me. Even if you're just saying, I have a question, put your student number there. Because I have a record. If I type in your student number in my email box, I use Gmail, as you know. And if I type in your student number, it brings up it searches for the number. And it brings up a record, everything you've said to me the whole semester. That is amazing for me. It saves me an incredible amount of time. So please tag everything with your number. Put it in the file name, in the email, in the subject line. Always use your number. Identify yourself whenever you're doing anything with me. And then I will be able to see exactly what you did the entire semester. And you will get the grade you deserve. That's all. Okay? So, write to me about an electronic device, and I will talk to you again next week. Look for the PDF file about the guidelines and some instructions on new things that I'm doing, including, maybe an opportunity for you to give me feedback about how the video lectures are going. That PDF file will be uploaded by this weekend. So, that's it for today, and I'll see you next Friday. Good night.